She walked into that private dining room 10 minutes late, carrying documents he'd asked for that morning. But when his hand rose, not quite pointing, not quite dismissing, something shifted. She was his ex-wife, 4 months pregnant and invisible in a room full of strangers. What she didn't know, he'd spent their entire marriage hiding who she really was. What he didn't know, she was about to take back everything they'd stolen. This is the story of a woman who discovered her worth was never tied to the man who tried to erase her, and the hand he raised became the moment she stopped disappearing. Welcome back to the channel, beautiful souls. Before we begin, I want to honor your presence here, whether you're fighting your own quiet battle or seeking strength for tomorrow. Stories like these exist because resilience exists. And resilience exists because of people like you. If this story speaks to you today, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more stories that matter. Now, let's begin. The door to the private dining room swung open, and Olivia stepped through, already 10 minutes late. Her hand moved instinctively to the small curve beneath her loose sweater, barely visible at 4 months, but constant now in her awareness. David stood at the head of the table, mid-sentence, his hand raised toward the investor across from him. The gesture froze as his eyes found her. "You weren't invited to this meeting." 7 faces turned. The investor's assistant pulled her tablet closer. Someone's water glass paused halfway to their lips. Olivia's fingers tightened on the strap of her bag. "Your secretary called. She said you needed the revised. I said you weren't invited." His hand, still raised, shifted, not quite pointing, not quite dismissing, but held there in the space between them. "This is a closed discussion." The room's temperature hadn't changed, but her skin prickled. She'd walked through this restaurant an hour ago, alone, checking exits she might need later. The manila envelope in her bag felt heavier now. "I have the documents you asked for this morning. Leave them with Claire." He turned back to the investor, his shoulders already resetting. "As I was saying, the offshore structuring." She didn't move. Her body knew something her mind was still catching up to. The way his hand had lifted, the precise angle of it. The muscle memory of a gesture she'd seen before, but never toward her. Not like this. Not in a room full of strangers. The investor cleared his throat. David's jaw tightened. "Olivia, please." The word landed soft, but his hand rose again. Just slightly. Just enough. A half gesture, incomplete. She turned and left the envelope on the side table by the door. Her reflection caught in the silver water pitcher as she moved. Pale. Smaller somehow than she remembered from this morning. The hallway outside smelled like burnt sugar and cold marble. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. 3 hours earlier, she'd stood in the apartment they used to share, signing the last page of the divorce papers. The pen had run out of ink halfway through her signature. She'd had to press harder, retracing the letters until they tore slightly through the paper. David hadn't been there. His attorney had handed her a second set of documents, a non-disclosure agreement, a liability waiver, a request that she vacate the premises by end of week. He wanted to make this as clean as possible, the attorney had said, not looking at her face. She'd left the papers on the kitchen counter and walked out with 2 suitcases and the envelope that now sat abandoned on a side table in a restaurant she'd never be able to afford on her own. The lobby of the restaurant was emptier now. Lunch service was ending. A hostess wiped down menus at the stand, her hands moving in tight, efficient circles. Olivia's phone buzzed again. She pulled it out. Claire. "He's asking where you put the Marlowe contracts." Claire. "Never mind. Found them." Claire. "Are you still in the building?" She typed. "No." The hostess glanced up, then away quickly. Too quickly. Olivia looked down at herself. The sweater that didn't quite sit right anymore. The shoes she'd worn for comfort instead of presentation. The bag with the broken zipper she kept meaning to replace. She looked like someone who'd walked into the wrong room. Maybe she had. Outside, the afternoon light was flat and gray. The parking garage was 2 blocks away. She'd parked on the 5th level because the lower ones had been full, and now the walk felt longer than it should have. Her hand went to her stomach again. The baby moved. Barely, just a flutter. Easy to miss if she wasn't paying attention. She was always paying attention now. The apartment she'd moved into that morning was in a building without a doorman. The lock stuck. The elevator made a grinding sound between the 4th and 5th floors. But the lease was month to month, and the landlord hadn't asked questions when she'd paid 3 months up front in cash. Inside, her suitcases sat unopened against the wall. The furniture was someone else's. A couch with sunken cushions, a table that wobbled, curtains that didn't quite cover the windows. She sat on the edge of the couch and pulled the second envelope from her bag. Not the one she'd left at the restaurant. The other one. The one David didn't know existed. Inside, a single document. A birth certificate, yellowed at the edges, creased from being folded and unfolded too many times. Mother, Olivia Heiress. Father, unknown. She'd been 6 when she last saw this paper. Her mother had shown it to her once, late at night, when the apartment they'd lived in then was too cold and the heat wouldn't come on. "You're mine," her mother had said. "No matter what anyone says, you're mine." Her mother had died when Olivia was 12. After that, the foster homes, then the scholarships, the part-time jobs, the degree she'd paid for herself. 1 semester at a time. She'd met David during her last year of grad school. He'd been a guest lecturer. Sharp suit, sharper presentation, the kind of confidence that came from never having to wonder if there'd be enough. He'd asked her to dinner after class, then another dinner, then a weekend trip that turned into a month in his penthouse downtown. "You're different," he'd said once, tracing the line of her collarbone in the dark. "You don't need anything from me." She'd thought that was why he'd loved her. The call came at 9 p.m., not from David, from his mother. "We need to speak," Patricia said. No greeting. No preamble. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. I don't think this isn't optional." The line went dead. Olivia sat in the dark apartment, the phone still pressed to her ear, listening to the dial tone until it cut off. Patricia Harlow's office was on the 42nd floor of a building Olivia had only ever seen from the outside. The lobby was all white stone and gold fixtures. A security guard at the desk didn't look up as she signed in. The elevator opened directly into Patricia's reception area. No hallway, no directory. Just a woman at a desk who gestured toward a pair of frosted glass doors without speaking. Inside, Patricia sat behind a desk that looked like it weighed more than Olivia's car. She didn't stand. "Sit." Olivia sat. Patricia slid a folder across the desk. "Sign these." "What are they?" "Termination of parental rights. You'll relinquish all claims to the child in exchange for a one-time payment of $50,000. Non-negotiable." The room tilted. Olivia's hands pressed flat against the chair arms. "You can't." "I can. And I will." Patricia's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "You're not fit to raise a Harlow. You have no family, no support system, no means of providing the life this child deserves. David has agreed. The papers are already filed. He can't take my baby. He won't have to." You'll give it up voluntarily or we'll pursue custody through the courts. I've already retained counsel. They assure me the outcome is certain." Olivia's vision blurred at the edges. She forced herself to breathe, to stay upright, to not let her body fold the way it wanted to. "I'm not signing." Patricia's expression didn't change. She pulled the folder back, opened it, removed a single photograph, and placed it face up on the desk. Olivia leaving a clinic. 3 months ago. The image was grainy, taken from across the street, but clear enough. "You went alone," Patricia said. "You didn't tell David. You didn't tell anyone. A woman in your position, with your history, seeking that kind of appointment?" She leaned back. A judge will find that very telling. Olivia's throat closed. "Sign the papers, take the money, and disappear. Or fight and lose everything, including your dignity, your choice." She didn't sign. She walked out of the office, past the silent receptionist, into the elevator that dropped 42 floors in 53 seconds. Her legs barely held her to the lobby. Outside, the city was too bright, too loud. She walked 4 blocks before realizing she'd left her bag in Patricia's office. She didn't go back for it. The apartment was dark when she returned. She'd forgotten to leave a light on. She moved through the rooms by memory, her hands trailing the walls until she found the couch. She sat. The baby moved. She pressed her palm flat against her stomach and counted the flutters. 1, 2, 3. Her phone, still in her coat pocket, buzzed. "David, my mother said you were upset. I'm sorry she was harsh, but she's right. This is what's best. David, the money will help you get settled somewhere. Start over. David, you'll see. This is better for everyone." She didn't reply. The clinic appointment Patricia had photographed. It hadn't been what Patricia thought. Olivia had gone for genetic counseling, alone. Because David had been traveling, and she'd been terrified of a blood test result she didn't understand. The counselor had explained it was nothing. A false positive. Common in first pregnancies. She'd left relieved, then ashamed of her relief, then grateful, then exhausted. She hadn't told David because by the time he returned, it had felt too small to mention. A crisis that wasn't. A fear that evaporated. Now Patricia had turned it into a weapon. 2 days later, Olivia sat in a legal aid office that smelled like old coffee and copier toner. The attorney, a woman named Ms. Park, mid-40s, tired eyes, reviewed the papers Patricia had given her. "They're aggressive," Ms. Park said, "but not airtight. The clinic visit isn't proof of anything without medical records, and those are protected. They'd need your consent to access them. Will they get it? Not unless you give it to them. What if I fight?" Ms. Park set the papers down. "Then you'll need to prove you can provide a stable home, income, support system. They'll argue you're isolated, financially dependent, emotionally unstable. They'll paint you as a risk. I'm not. I believe you. But belief doesn't win custody cases. Evidence does. So, I need money. You need more than money. You need leverage." That night, Olivia returned to the apartment she'd shared with David. She still had a key. He was traveling again. London, then Singapore. The place would be empty for another week. She moved through the rooms like a ghost, opening drawers, checking closets, pulling files from the home office David never locked because he'd never imagined she'd look. She found the contracts first. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, payments that didn't match any business she knew he ran. Then she found the emails. David to Patricia. She doesn't know about the trust. Keep it that way. Patricia to David. If she finds out, everything unravels. The Reyes name can't surface. Not now. David to someone named Gerald. Confirm the documents are sealed. No public record. No trace. Olivia's hand shook as she photographed each page. The Reyes name, her mother's name. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she searched birth records, property deeds, business filings, court documents. At 4 a.m., she found it. A trust, established 32 years ago. Beneficiary, Olivia Reyes. Trustee, Patricia Harlow. The fund was worth $800 million. Her mother hadn't been poor. Her mother had been stolen from. Morning came too fast. Olivia sat at the kitchen table in David's apartment, the document spread in front of her, her body numb from lack of sleep and too much information. The trust had been established by her grandfather, a man she'd never met, whose name she'd never heard. He'd died when her mother was 18. The estate had passed to a distant cousin who'd married Patricia's brother. Her mother had been written out, erased, made invisible. But the trust, created before the will was changed, had survived. And when her mother died, it should have passed to Olivia automatically. Instead, Patricia had buried it, hidden it, let Olivia grow up in foster care while sitting on a fortune that was legally hers. The confrontation happened in the same restaurant where David had raised his hand. Olivia called Patricia and told her she wanted to sign the papers. Patricia arrived at noon, alone, carrying a briefcase and the same cold expression she always wore. They sat in the private dining room, the same one, the same table. Patricia slid the papers across. You made the right choice. Olivia didn't touch them. Instead, she placed a folder of her own on the table. Patricia opened it. Her face didn't change, but her hand stilled. You stole from me, Olivia said, for 30 years. That trust was a mistake. My mother was entitled to it. And so am I. You can't prove. I already have. I filed a claim this morning. The court will freeze the trust pending investigation. Your name is on every document, every transfer, every hidden account. Patricia's jaw tightened. You have no idea what you're starting. I know exactly what I'm starting. For the first time in Olivia's life, Patricia Harlow had nothing to say. David returned from Singapore 3 days later. He called her twice. She didn't answer. He came to the apartment, the new one, the one without a doorman. He knocked for 5 minutes before she opened the door. What the hell did you do? He didn't yell. His voice was quiet, controlled, dangerous. I took back what was mine. That trust, it's not yours. It's mine, legally, entirely. My mother will bury you in legal fees. You'll spend every cent fighting her. No, she'll spend every cent trying to stay out of prison. David's hand moved, rose slightly, the same gesture from the restaurant. But this time, Olivia didn't flinch. You don't understand what you've done, he said. I understand that you knew. The whole time. You knew who I was, what I was owed, and you let her take it. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself. His hand dropped. Olivia, get out. This is my... No, it's mine. All of it. The trust, the accounts, the properties. Your mother put them in my name to hide them from the IRS. They're legally mine now, including this building. David stared at her. You can't. I already did. You have 30 days to vacate. She closed the door. The baby was born on a Tuesday in March. A girl, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. Olivia named her Claire, after the assistant who'd slipped her the first hint that something was wrong months ago in a text message that said simply, check the Marlowe contracts. Page 47. The hospital room was quiet. Just Olivia and the baby and a nurse who checked vitals every 2 hours. No family, no visitors. No one to hold the baby while Olivia slept. But when she looked at her daughter's face, none of that mattered. 6 months later, Olivia stood in the lobby of a building she now owned, the one with Patricia's office on the 42nd floor. Patricia no longer worked there. The investigation had ended her career. The charges, fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse, would take years to resolve, but the outcome was certain. David had disappeared. Last she'd heard, he was in the Cayman Islands, trying to salvage what little remained of his reputation. Olivia didn't think about him anymore. She thought about Claire, about the trust that would pass to her one day, about the life they'd build together, stable, secure, free from people who saw them as obstacles instead of human beings. The small apartment was gone now. They lived in a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood with good schools and a park 3 blocks away. Claire's nursery had a window that caught the morning light. Olivia had painted it herself. Soft yellow, the color of hope. Some nights, Olivia still woke up thinking she was back in that apartment with the broken zipper and the stuck locks, but then she'd hear Claire breathing in the next room and she'd remember that life was over. This life, the one she'd fought for, bled for, refused to surrender, was real. On Claire's first birthday, Olivia received a letter, no return address. Inside, a single sentence in handwriting she recognized. "I'm sorry. David." She didn't reply. Instead, she carried the letter to the fireplace and watched it burn. Then she went to the kitchen, where Claire was sitting in her high chair, smashing a piece of banana between her fingers and laughing. Olivia kissed the top of her daughter's head and threw the banana away. Some things once lost couldn't be reclaimed, but some things, like this moment, this child, this life, were worth every fight. If this story moved you, if you felt Olivia's fear, her defiance, her quiet victory, then this channel needs your support. Stories like this don't just entertain. They remind us what's possible when we refuse to be erased. Subscribe to see more narratives of resilience. Like this video if you believed in Olivia's fight. And comment below, have you ever had to reclaim something that was stolen from you? Your story matters. Share it. Let's build a community that doesn't just watch, but witnesses, remembers, and stands together.